This could have been Mr. Darcy 2.0. It was literally right there. I don't know. And then they're like, let's go on a date. Huh? Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Is back talking about books. If the setup and the audio of this video seems a little bit different, it's because I went a little bit crazy for Black Friday and I bought a camera. Like a real camera to film my videos on. I'm filming on a new camera, so it is gonna be, I hope, a little bit different in quality of the video. So let me know if this is okay with you guys. Other than that, today what we're gonna be talking about, as you can tell from the title of the video, is King of Pride by ANA HUANG. It's gonna be a review. I'm gonna talk about everything that I thought about the book, my likes, my dislikes, and first off, before getting into the review, before getting into everything about it, I just want to say a warning, okay? A warning for those of you who have liked this book. I really apologize because this is not going to be a positive review, okay? This is not going to be a review where I talk about everything that I loved about it because I really didn't love this book. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. I'll get into the reasons why, but I do remember seeing comments on my YouTube channel about people liking the book. If you can't handle me talking bad about something that you might like, this might not be the video for you because I will be going into why I didn't like it, okay? Just protect yourself, protect your feelings first before watching a video. But this will not be an insanely positive review. Let's just say that. I am so sorry in advance for anybody who liked this book because this will be a majority negative review. So I gave this book a 2 out of 5 stars. We're gonna start with the synopsis. So what is King of Pride about? So if you don't know, this series that ANA HUANG is doing, each book is gonna be the 7 deadly sins. The first one, King of Wrath. This one is King of Pride. One of the 7 deadly sins, it is the pride sin. It follows the main character named Kai and Isabella. It is their love story and it is basically an opposites attract romance between Isabella and Kai. Isabella is a bartender who works at a country club that Kai is a member at. And Kai is a CEO billionaire, like most ANA HUANG protagonists, that goes to the country club that she works at. It is a forbidden romance at first because she's not supposed to get with the clients at the club and has the huge potential to be fired. In the same instance that their love story is brewing and their forbidden romance starts, them, hooking up at first and seeing how their feelings play out, Kai Young is also trying to get control of he's a CEO billionaire, okay? He is trying to get control of his family empire, his family business, which is in the process of having a change of power. And if this change of power, if he does not become the next CEO, his mom owns the company, if he does not become the next CEO, it would be a huge detriment to his pride and to his family's business because it's supposed to be a family business. So it'd look really bad if the business went to someone who was not family. That is basically the premise, okay? It's literally just their love story. They consider it an opposites attract love story, but honestly, it's not really that much of an opposites attract, okay? It's just a whatever love story, in my eyes, okay? So I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. The reason why I gave it so low is just because I was bored. But it's a healthy relationship, but I was just bored. I'll get into everything. Let's start with my likes. What did I like about this book? I liked that it was diverse. The 2 main characters are both Asian. Kai Young, he's British. So if you love a London boy, if you love a British man, Kai will be your man. It's giving Nick Young from Crazy Rich Asians. That is kind of how I imagined him. British, rich, very wholesome man. That is Kai. And Isabella, the other main character, she is Filipino-Chinese, but she is also American. She's Filipino-Chinese American. I do like that there is a diversity in that the 2 main characters are considered beautiful. And I've said this in my past videos too before. I just like books where the main characters aren't white, honestly. And they don't really have to do too much when it comes to ingraining of cultures. I think it would be really good for the books if they did do that, but even just having characters that are Asian to me is a step up in the way that a lot of characters that I read a lot are white. Just me as an Asian woman, I just don't ever really see myself as beautiful a lot, or I don't see myself depicted in media as beautiful, especially American media. I am an American, so I watch a lot of American media and read a lot of books that are written by Americans. I just don't see myself as beautiful a lot when it comes to books, movie, TV, etc., etc. The standard is white a lot of the time. So just seeing that two people can come together in a love story and in the book are detailed, are described as hot, are described as beautiful, I love it. I just love that within itself. And I think people say representation doesn't matter. It's tricky to do representation in the right way. For me, reading books, just having them be another race or ethnicity is okay on its own. It's a step forward. It's a step forward, okay? So I did like that about the book. I liked that they were both Asians and that this romance is between two Asian people. I loved it. And it's not giving palatable Asian romances, if that makes sense, like in American media. It's not doing the Jenny Han thing, where it's an Asian woman with a white man. Because Jenny Han loves her white man. You know, To All the Boys I Loved Before, a biracial couple, and the man has to be white. Summer I Turned Pretty, the man has to be white. Even with the brother in that show, it's Steven with a white girl in season 2. I also like that this was a healthy relationship. There was no miscommunication, and when they hooked up the first time, Isabella immediately was open with her feelings, and she immediately asked, what are they? What is this? And they were both honest about their feelings, and then they just started dating. That is the one thing I will say. This is, I think, one of the first times ANA HUANG has really written a very healthy couple. Twisted Games, I'm not sure if I'm remembering correctly. I think Twisted Game was also a pretty healthy couple, Bridget and Reese. But for sure, this couple is very healthy. It's one of the healthier couples of any of ANA HUANG's bibliography. That's everything I liked about it. Now I will get into my dislikes. Basically, I'm just gonna start by saying it was boring. I felt really bad for saying this because it's kind of ironic that Kai, most of the book, Kai is accused of being boring. When I was reading that, the side characters talk about like, oh, like he's kind of boring, isn't he? And by the time I got to the halfway point of the book, I was already started skimming it. I could care less about these characters. I didn't feel anything with them, okay? By the time I got to the halfway point and they talked about Kai being boring, in my head I say a quote, "How dare you accuse me of something that is wholeheartedly true?" It's very ironic that Kai's book is accused of being boring when he is accused of being boring. Guilty. Very fitting, isn't it? It's very fitting that I was bored reading his book, and he's the one person that is accused of being boring. Everything was bland, and there was just no drama. There was no drama. I'm okay with the healthy relationship, okay? Don't get me wrong. I love healthy relationships. I want to read about healthy relationships. But I think even with healthy relationships, you can still create interesting stories. I will give example. Emily Henry. Her relationships in the romances that she writes, for the most part, they are healthy relationships. They are still interesting to read. And the writing is very compelling. And I devour her books. Emily Henry is an example of an author who's able to write healthy relationships in an interesting way and still have plot points that move conflict, that have conflict and push the plot forward. I just didn't feel like there was a purpose in this book being written when there really was no conflict. I know it's called King of Pride. They did have Kai's pride being sort of a conflict in the book. There's just, the stakes were so low. The stakes of this book, the entirety of it, was like this. It was a line. It was so low. That's it. I just felt so bored reading it. And if there's one thing I will say when it comes to reading is I would rather read a book that is written horribly, toxic romance, Wattpad-esque, etc., super unhinged, unhealthy. I can make it an entire list, but if it's interesting and I devour it, I would rather read that than a healthy romance where nothing in the book really happens and the stakes are so low. Because then what is the point of writing the story? That is what I think to myself. There was so much potential in this book and in this story. Kai being the most sweetest, wholesome character that ANA HUANG has written had so much potential to have the best, cutest, most wholesome love story, and it just fell flat. And I felt so bad because I feel like Kai is so swoon-worthy, and if I met him in real life, I would fall in love with him. It just sucks, you know? I just needed more. Everything was so bland. There was no drama, no deeper emotional connections. The smut was just okay, and I just felt like I needed the characters to feel special in their own way, to be people that were super significant and stood out as actual characters. I just needed more. There was no pining, and I'm a pining bitch. I love pining, okay? There was no pining, and then they just hook up. They play piano a little bit. There's tension in the very beginning where he's like playing piano, and then he like sits next to her, and then they hook up. And then that's it. Then they start going on regular schmegular dates. They go out on the town, and then their love story to me is basically over. It just was missing the fun of it. There's a lot of little small conflicts here and there in the book. For example, she does get fired from her job, but it's not a big thing. It gets resolved immediately, and both of the characters don't care. So if both of the characters don't care about this conflict, why should we? She gets fired from her job, and then she gets a new one pretty immediately after, and both of the characters don't make a big deal out of it. So why, as readers, should we make a big deal out of it? That's what I'm getting at. There was nothing going for it to me. It was just so boring. At least in the first book, King of Wrath, there was a revenge plot going, there was blackmail, and because the conflict of the book was actively about the two main characters and their story together, it created the tension that needed to move the plot forward. In this book, in King of Pride, with Kai and Isabella, both of their conflicts were so separate from each other. Isabella was just trying to figure out her life, and Kai wanted to be a CEO. Those two conflicts didn't clash enough to affect the relationship and for the relationship to grow out of it. I can get into specific plot points, what I'll go into. In the first book, right? There's more tension and there's close proximity. They're forced to be around each other. That created more of a story. And there was so much more juice there. Is the book as a whole, the first book, King of Wrath as a whole, is it good? I don't know. But at least it was more fun to read than this one. Both of the issues that the characters go through, their own character development stories are just so wholly separate, or it's not even separate. They are interlaced with each other and like the relationship, but the characters don't act like they're interlaced. And they're like, oh, it's fine. For example, Kai wants to be a CEO. So him dating a bartender can be a detriment to him being a CEO because he needs the vote. He needs a popular vote. It looks bad if the media is saying like, oh, he's dating this bartender. Ugh, dating her could be bad on his pride. That could have been a huge conflict that could have happened. It would have been really on the nose, but it would have been a more interesting conflict than him dating her, bad in the public eye. But he says, oh, I don't care. I still want to date you. If he doesn't care, why should we as readers care? He didn't make it a big deal, so why are we going to make it a big deal? The third act conflict, I wish the third act conflict had to do more with his pride. Because the title of the book is called King of Pride. This could have been Pride and Prejudice 2.0. This could have been Mr. Darcy 2.0. It was literally right there. Pride and Prejudice is literally right there. You could have written a copy and paste of Pride and Prejudice, but it would have been more interesting than what happened here. Because tell me why this is called King of Pride, but it didn't feel like Kai's pride was an issue in this book at all. It didn't feel like that. The third act conflict, to make it more interesting, could have been that he had to set aside his pride because he loved Isabella so much. He had to set aside his pride for his love. If he used the title of the book, it's King of Pride, that is his one downfall. That's his one flaw, his pride. If they use that as the third act conflict, it would have been a much more compelling story. And the third act conflict would have actually made a little bit of sense. It would have made at least a semblance of some sense. But that just is not what happened in the book. Maybe the characters weren't strong enough to me. Maybe I started skimming it halfway through, so I didn't understand everything wholeheartedly and fully. But I really felt like I did not understand the third act conflict. It just felt like they broke up just to break up. In romance books, there's always a third act breakup scene 50 pages before the book's over. I really did not understand why they broke up. I was reading this passage of them breaking up and I was so confused. Why is she breaking up with him? There's literally no reason. And he just accepts it because he's such a sweet guy. He is going to accept what she says because if it makes you happy, I want you to be happy. If you really feel like we can't be together, I want to put you first. You saying this, like, he takes it because he's like, it's healthy. It just doesn't make sense. Let me go through the third act conflict. Here is the passage. I wanted to believe Kai. I wanted to sink into his confidence and let it carry me away because I did understand the irony of breaking up when the things that kept us apart were no longer applicable. But this wasn't about external obstacles. It was about who we were as people. And we were fundamentally incompatible. Huh? So y'all literally broke up because all of the conflicts, they literally say it in the book, all of the conflicts are gone. There is no more conflicts about why they're together. He's a CEO already. She's like doing her own thing. She's like an assistant or whatever the fuck. They have all the conflicts are gone. And she literally says, all the key things keeping her apart, they don't matter anymore. It wasn't about external obstacles. They, as people, just do not fit. They were fundamentally incompatible. That makes no sense. How are they incompatible? I did not get that in the entirety of the book. In the entirety of the book, all they did was love each other, go out on dates. It was only the external obstacles holding them back. So how in the hell are you incompatible? It felt like she was just breaking up just to break up. It made absolutely no sense. I was so confused. You like him, she likes you. What is incompatible about that? What is incompatible? Literally, money is not an issue. No, all the external obstacles are not the issue. She's saying it's a fundamental thing in their heart. In their heart, do you love him? Yes. In her heart, do you love her? Yes. Compatible. What do you mean y'all are incompatible? I was livid. I was as confused as when I was reading Priest. Because if you go back to my Priest video, I'll link it below, the third act conflict made no freaking sense. It was like they just broke up because that's what you're supposed to do in a third act conflict. You're just supposed to break up. Why are they breaking up? They're literally compatible. They are breaking up for absolutely no reason. So by the time I read that, I was already irked. They literally are just breaking up to break up. The third act conflict could have been way better. And then when they get back together and I felt nothing. Because they broke up for nothing. It's not the jealousy trope. That would have been toxic. They would never do the jealousy trope because they're a healthy couple. They just broke up. They just broke up because they were, oh, well, I guess we should break up. At least it could have been family, right? Their families don't like each other or something. No, they put the third act conflict is they're just inadvertently, like they're just internally incompatible. What? If you are internally incompatible, that means you don't like each other. I'm sorry, I just really didn't understand that. This had so much potential. There were so many factors that could have been the third act conflict. I wish that his love for her could have been the reason he set aside his pride. Goes back to the freaking title of the book, but really it's just the couple living, the couple dating, and then the conflicts in the book are external. So it's Isabella dealing with her conflict on this side and her character development story, and then Kai dealing with his conflict on that side. And then they're like, let's go on a date. And then that's it. That's literally what it felt like to me reading it. All to say, this is all just my opinion. If you really liked the book, actually let me know what you liked about it because we need some positivity down here, okay? I don't want to just be hating on books. Tell me what you liked about the book. Okay, tell me below what you liked about it. But personally, going back to it, I just wasn't swooning. I think Kai's the potential to be a really good character. Isabella has a really good potential to be a good character. They have the potential to be a good couple, but that's all it boils down to. It's all potential. They had the potential. Execution was not there. This is the passage where they talk about what should have been the conflict of the book, okay? His pride. He says completely, totally, irrevocably, okay, Bella Swan. Okay, Bella Swan. Kai says, I've always prided myself on being the best. I had to be number one. I had to win. I collected prizes, awards, because I saw them as a reflection of my self-worth, and I thought nothing tasted better than victory. Then I met you. I swallowed the emotion burning in my throat, and everything else faded. We've been through some dark times, but you were always the brightest part of my life, even when we broke up. Like, they shouldn't have broken up, okay? Even when I walked out, because he respected her emotions. Just knowing you existed somewhere in this world was enough. Cute, but to me, reading that passage meant nothing because he talks about him priding himself about being the best, about always winning. That was a big thing about his character. He never lost. He always liked to win. He was the best at everything, but it had nothing to do with the relationship. He says, I never really lived before you. But then I'm just thinking about it and I'm like, what did they do the whole book? How were they living? I'm so sorry, Kai. Love you to death. Mwah, love you. But you are accused of being boring. And if you're saying I never really lived before you, and the entire you portion, aka the entire book, the entire Isabel portion of his life, which is the book, is just them going to an art gallery, going to the club, going to this undercover thing where they throw darts. That's you living. I wish we got more of his internal feeling alive. Maybe all of his winning was him feeling dead inside. I'm saying this sentence a lot. There's just so much potential. The story could have gone a million different ways. And it could have been thought-provoking. It could have been interesting. It just decided to never take that path. And for that, I am so sad and sorry. Whoa. Why did... Okay, anyway. I'm getting distracted. It's so late at night. Anna, bestie, Anna, what happened? What happened? Yes, I will continue to read all of your books. There are authors that I will just always be reading. And maybe I'll make a video about that. All the authors that I'll just read their whole bibliography. But bestie, what happened? What happened? I would rather you write a toxic romance that's interesting and then me critiquing the toxicity of it than write a book that just felt like it didn't really have to be a book because there was no emotion or there was just no purpose to it. Every time you write a book, every time you write anything, anytime you open your mouth, you create media, do a TikTok, this, that, and a third, I have something to say. You open your mouth because you have something to say, whether it be good, bad, or random. You know, like a lot of people will say a lot of words, but they mean nothing. But when you write a book, it's like, okay, what's the purpose? What are you trying to say with this book? For example, you read a romance book. For a lot of romances to me, when I read a romance book, I think, why was this book written? Why did they feel the urge to write? And a lot of the time reading romances, the author, I could feel it in my heart. For every romance, this is the reason why I love reading romance. They felt the urge to write because with romance, it's about human connection. It's about connecting with people and emotions. Love is just kind of one of those magical things that your body chemistry does, whatever. It's just one of those magical things where a lot of the time you can't help it. You can't help but love somebody. It's like really powerful. Oh, this is me being cheesy. This is a hopeless romantic in me. I just feel like stories about human connection are so powerful. It doesn't have to be romance, but I think it's easily written in a romance, you know, because romance is human connection. It's one of the most closest human connection you can get. That's also why I love found family trope. That is human connection, and I read because I want to know why we are human. That really got deep really quickly, and I just felt like in this, I didn't feel like there was a purpose or any of that. I didn't feel like it was the human connection. I didn't feel like Kai or Isabella went through things where it's like the weight of the world is on their shoulders or anything like that. It just felt like, I was gonna say it felt like a memoir, but even memoirs, they write it for a purpose, you know what I mean? It just had so much potential and it just fell short. So, in conclusion, I read the book, nothing happened, and then it was over. It was a healthy relationship, but at what cost? But at what cost? Please, let me know your thoughts below. If you've read the book, let me know if you liked it. I actually am really interested to see the good about it. Every time I read a book, I don't read it to look at all the negatives. I never go into a book wanting to pick it apart. It's kind of like my detriment. It's like my downfall. You know, I think I've just read so much and then I have this YouTube channel that I end up picking apart books, and sometimes it's a little hard for me to just enjoy a book and just let it be. Every time I open a book, I'm so excited. I want to read it. I'm going to love it. And I don't ever want to go into it being like, I'm gonna hate this shit. Even Colleen Hoover, I already know her romances are gonna be toxic. It's not even gonna be a romance. It's gonna be crazy or whatever. But I go into it excited and thinking like it's gonna be a good time. So I never try to go into a book trying to pick it apart. So if you really liked the book, I actually really want to know your thoughts and why you liked it. Just put a little positivity in here, okay? Please, because I was being really negative in this video, so I'm really sorry about that. If you didn't like the book, let me know what your thoughts. Just leave your comments below. I love reading them. I love going through all of them. If I don't reply to your comments, it's not because I didn't read them, okay? It's because I feel like everything you said is just valid, and that's that on that. There's nothing I could really add to it. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to watch my King of Pride video, I'm gonna link it below. Yeah, I guess that's it. Let me know what you think of this camera. If the audio, the visual, everything like that is good. Spent a lot of money on it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one.